Okay, in today's video, we're going to be talking about how to actually build a creative strategy for your ecom brand in 2025 so that you can make ads that actually convert and your efforts are compounding over time, so your ads are consistently getting better. Everyone knows that success with Facebook ads in 2025 will be majority dependent on your creatives, specifically your ability to produce better creatives at a higher volume and utilize the different creative formats available to you. Specifically, we're talking about creative diversity there. So everyone kind of knows, or you should know by now, that there's 4 different ways you can gain a competitive advantage when it comes to ecom, aside from obviously the product. First one is your CPA. If you can acquire customers at a cheaper rate than everybody else, or more expensive than everybody else, which we'll talk about in a second, then you can bully them in the ad auctions and you can acquire customers at a larger scale than them. Second one is your AOV. If your average order value is higher than theirs, that allows you to have a higher allowable CPA, in which case you can spend more money to acquire customers than they can, and so you can beat them in the ad auctions. Third way is your actual conversion rate. So optimizing the conversion rate of your store to be able to convert more traffic. Spending the same amount of money on traffic will allow you to increase your revenue, grow your business. And then the last one is your gross margin. Your gross margin being, the cost that it basically takes you to buy the product, ship it to your customer. If you're optimizing at a higher gross margin or operating at a higher gross margin than your competitors, you can again spend more money to acquire customers than they can and beat them in the ad auctions. So these are the 4 realistic edges when it comes to ecom. Obviously, my expertise has been built in the creative side of things, which is kind of directly linked to CPA. So we're going to talk about how to actually build creatives that actually convert in 2025 and the systematic process and the first principles thinking way of looking at this when it comes to actually making creative, because it's a lot of noise about different formats, different styles, scripts, TikTok shop style creatives, VSLs, all these buzzwords that you hear all the time. So how do you kind of deduce what works best for you? And then how can you build a strategy around your brand to be able to execute creative at a high level so that you can acquire customers profitably? So we're going to be going through a few different things. There's really 6 different pillars that I'm going to talk about in this video. The first one is obviously just a quick breakdown of the contents of the video. Data being, the number one source of kind of any decision that we make, not only from the creative perspective, but also just as a general business. Separating signal from noise, meaning, what is actually worth taking action on and what is actually giving you a directional signal in terms of where to go, as opposed to just being, noise in the market. Third is constructing your scripts. Fourth, understanding who you're speaking to. And fifth, finding creators. I have another video on the channel about how to hire the best UGC creators. Step-by-step tutorial shows you all the SOPs and resources. So if you haven't seen that already, I would strongly recommend you watch that. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. So the first pillar we're going to be talking about is the data. As the old adage goes, garbage in, garbage out, meaning the data or the inputs equal the outputs. And so the higher the quality of the inputs, the greater the quality of the outputs. This could not be more true of actually making ads. So where do we need to get our data from in order to understand what type of ads we need to make and what we need to be saying to our target audience to get them to resonate and actually convert? So the first place we're going to be looking in terms of what type of ads we actually need to make is inside our ad account, obviously. Now, inside the ad account, there's a few different ways you can look at this. You want to look at trailing 7, 30, 60, 90-day reports of what are your best performing concepts, what are your best performing angles, what are your best performing videos, images, formats of creative. And you want to kind of understand the commonalities between them. Oftentimes when I go into ad accounts, I see there will be 3 to 5 creatives that are driving majority of the growth of that business, when a brand could be producing hundreds of assets a month. This is not something uncommon. This is just the 80-20 principle in reality. And, it's nothing to be alarmed about. you cannot really expect your creative hit rate to be so high, and it's definitely not something that you can control to a large enough extent for it to be like what you hedge all your bets on. But what you can control is the volume of assets you produce. So when you go into your ad account, like I said, you want to pull those reports and look at the commonalities between the messaging, the personas, the angles, the avatars, everything inside those creatives, and figure out what it is about those creatives that is performing well. So if you haven't seen this resource already, I mentioned it in one of my other videos, the Research Hub. And basically you want to take, however many, you can populate this as much as you want, top 10, top 15 creatives, identify the ad formats, identify the hook and the nature of the hook, which we'll talk about later on, identify the awareness level, in other words, the funnel stage of those prospects that you're speaking to. For example, I don't want to talk too much about awareness levels because it seems to be what everyone talks about nowadays. And while it is important, it's been explained to endless depth where I don't really need to make another video about it. So who is the target audience? Ideally, who is the avatar that you are speaking to, and how are you portraying that within your actual video? What is the script POV? First person, second person, third person? Who's the script and the perspective of that specific creative coming from is very important as well to understand. What are the pain points that those creatives are speaking about? Again, you won't be able to market to every single angle, and definitely every single angle won't achieve the same amount of results for you. When you stack angles on top of each other, you can obviously see a lot of success, but you'll usually have 1 to 2 main core angles, and that will kind of be broken down by the intensity of the pain point that you're marketing to with those specific angles, and then the TAM of those angles. There are certain angles that are much more scalable than others, certain angles that are much more niche than others. Stacking them on top of each other, creating content for both is definitely helpful, but understanding, again, the 80-20 principle of which angles and which pain points drive majority of your performance when you're speaking to those specific audiences is very, very important to inform your creative strategy moving forward. Next up, desired outcome. So what are we actually selling them? Are we selling them outcome A, B, C, or D, depending on what you're selling and who you're selling it to? It's very, very important to understand that so that you can continuously be selling them that in different creatives. Does your script create a common enemy? This is something that works really, really well. And so this is why I gave it its own column, because in accounts that we tried this on, it works very, very well. Like making common enemies out about traditional alternatives, failed solutions, any big like overruling force that could be affecting your customer. Think about like big pharma or anything like that. Failed solutions, etc. And you want to go through and break down each and every one of your ads inside your ad account using these metrics so that you're then able to look at the commonalities between them. The second thing you want to do is you want to look at your ads reporting data inside your ad account, and you want to break it down by gender and age, because this will show you who your creatives are resonating with, and it will also actually help you inform your decisions when it comes to casting creators or deciding who to basically cast in your ads, which is going to have a drastic impact on who obviously gets served your ads and then who those ads will resonate with. If you're spending majority of your UGC efforts, shipping products out to females 25 to 30, but you actually see majority of your conversions and your highest return on ad spend is coming from 55 plus or 65 plus women, you might want to then look at who you're casting in your ads and say, okay, let's cast some more older women, and then use some more first person POV testimonial style ads and see if we can relate better to that customer and continuously drive more performance in that direction. That would basically be a testable hypothesis that you might want to create from there. The next element of data comes from your ad comments, particularly your top performers. This is very, very helpful for not only for the creative side of things, but also product, ops, logistics, customer experience, everything, because people who have bought your products continue to be served your ads, and oftentimes will come and talk about if it worked for them, if it didn't work for them, how long it took them to receive it, all these kind of things. We want to focus on the creative learnings that we can take from comments, and so you want to go through and analyze your comment sections and look at, are there any things that your customers are liking about your products that you haven't previously considered? I'll give you an example. One of our clients recently, they sell a fitness product. It appeals to a wide range of angles: pain relief, weight loss, all these kind of things. But we noticed that in the ad comments, people were talking about lymphatic drainage. And that's not something that we had mentioned in ads or on the product page or on the landing page at all previously. We then made a specific ad targeting that pain point, well, not really pain point, but that kind of angle, and it became a top performer. And it's just a simple ad. It's like a first-person testimonial, TikTok shop style, no fancy like camera angles or B-rolls or anything. Just creator talking to the camera, doing a demo of the product. And the hook, I think, is something like a simple way to do lymphatic drainage at home. So now we're able to tap into that audience and stack that on top of the other avatars that are currently performing. The only way we would have been able to do that is if we had analyzed the ad comments and spent the time to actually go through and see who's resonating with our ads, who's buying the product, what benefits are they deriving from the product, and how can we use that to then inform the kind of life cycle of our marketing moving forward. Next up, you have post-purchase survey responses. These are very, very valuable to, again, understand who's buying your product. I was speaking to a guy recently who, again, similar sort of situation. They had a product that they were marketing majority towards younger audiences. In their post-purchase survey responses, they realized that older women were actually buying the product more for a specific reason. And so that allowed them to cast creators who resonated better with that specific messaging and reflected the avatar more. And that allowed them to basically create a blue ocean for themselves and end up, while everyone else is competing for that specific younger audience, these guys found a completely new audience that hadn't been marketed to as aggressively and was a lot more receptive in terms of actually buying and driving performance for the brand. Next up, you want to go really deep into your customer reviews. You can use AI and ChatGPT and Claude and everything to figure out exactly what are the commonalities between your best customers, what are they buying, filtering the quality of your reviews to see, what are the most 5-star reviews coming from, why are people buying the product, what are they liking about the product, what are they not liking about the product. Doing this not only with your own reviews, but also your competitor reviews will allow you to uncover angles or uncover objections that you can potentially handle in your scripts or in your ads that your competitors may be falling short on. Doing the exact same thing for Amazon reviews as well. Again, for similar or competitor products, particularly if you're in a position where you don't have your own reviews or you don't have enough of them, you can find the biggest Amazon listings for the most similar or ideally the direct competitor products and conduct an analysis using ChatGPT. Again, you just want to ask it simple questions like, what are the purchasing prompts of these people? Why did they buy the product? What do they like about the product? What do they not like about the product? What kind of desired outcomes were they looking to achieve with the product? What are some of the most interesting backstories that you can find in these reviews? Because oftentimes people will leave very long form reviews, particularly on Amazon, and you can go through their kind of journey where they will basically essentially describe a hero's journey of their own from problem to actually discovering the product and it solving the problem for them. And some of these reviews you can literally turn into first-person testimonial UGC ads, and they work really, really well. We've done it for a client quite recently, actually, and it became a very good performer in the ad account. So again, utilizing all of this data and making sure that all of this data is what is informing your creative strategy will just improve the likelihood of your ads being able to resonate with your target audience. Next up, you want to be looking at AdSpy platforms. AdSpy is my go-to. Also, PP Ads is a bunch of others. Again, you want to find the best performing ads in your niche or vertical, and then reverse engineer the messaging and break down why those specific ads worked and scaled very well. Chances are you'll find a combination of the messaging and the quality of the research that went into those ads was very, very high quality. Second, you'll probably find that the angle that those ads tap into is very broad, which allows them to scale. That is something that, by the way, has to be like a requirement for the ad to actually scale big enough to spending, 4, 5, 10K a day. You have to actually tap into something quite broad. Otherwise, there's just not enough people to speak to, and eventually your ad will experience diminishing returns. And that's why when you launch ads, and even though they show good CPAs in your account and good ROAS, Facebook won't push spend on them. It's just because that specific angle or that specific ad itself just cannot scale into the TAM. And so you need to figure out other ways. 7, Reddit. I have a YouTube video about this as well on the channel. So if you want to watch that in depth about how to use Reddit, how to find, all of the information that your customers, again, are willingly giving you on Reddit for free, go ahead and watch that video. You might also want to look at articles from magazines, from niche forums. If you're speaking to like mums, for example, you might want to find specific forums where mums go. Or you might want to look at viral videos about specific pain points that people suffer from, and then read those comment sections. Like if you're selling to mums, for example, and they're talking about postpartum weight loss, you'll probably be able to find hundreds of videos that have millions of views on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram Reels, and go through those comment sections to find other people's stories, which will then allow you to collate all of this messaging and figure out, again, what are the angles, how are they speaking about the problem, and then utilize that to your advantage when it comes to actually creating your scripts. 9 is YouTube. You can look at long form, short form content on YouTube, particularly in like health, for example. You might want to look at different breakdowns of why specific things happen in the body. Like if you're talking about joint pains or anything like that, understanding expert perspectives on that will allow you to produce scripts that speak with more authority to your audience. And again, you want to be just jotting down all of this stuff in here. So you've got your competitor / industry ad deep dive, you got your Google research, Reddit research, YouTube, niche forums, and you just want to be dropping it all down. Just create more sheets as you go if you want to do TikTok viral videos about specific things. And you want to be looking at and making sure that you save and make a note of, for example, if it's YouTube, the video name, the link to the video, the specific timestamp where the valuable thing that you want to use got mentioned. What are the most marketable quotes from that video? And then how can you use that in your ads? And do that for Reddit, do that for Google. And if you go through and spend like 2, 3, 4 hours doing this and refreshing this every so often, like you'll be in a very good position when it comes to actually making ads that resonate with your audience. Because without this data, all of your marketing efforts will be basically based on assumptions. And we don't want to assume anything about our customer, because trust me, there's enough brands doing that. And those are the same brands that go onto Twitter complaining that their ROAS is poor, they can't acquire customers profitably. Is because they haven't put in the legwork of doing the research, which would not only actually help them create better creatives, but then also write better funnels, make better landing pages, come up with better offers, which will then, all of that will compound and work together to build a machine that acquires customers profitably. Particularly when there's so much first and third party data out there about your customers, you don't want to rely on assumptions. Years ago, brands would need to spend thousands conducting customer surveys and doing all of these like trial groups and testing products and investing, thousands of dollars, maybe even millions of dollars into products that go to market and flop without this necessary data, because it was so hard to come by. Now it's basically all open source. You can find it pretty much anywhere you go, and it's all available to you in abundance for free across a wide variety of platforms. So you have to be able to utilize that to your advantage. Okay, next thing we're going to be talking about is hypothesis creation. So what is a hypothesis? It's basically, as per Google's definition, a supposition or proposed explanation made on the basis of limited evidence as a starting point for further investigation. Hypothesis needs to be directional, usually in the case of creatives. Ideally, you want to create a specific and testable statement that you can then go ahead and act upon, and then use data to then basically confirm if it was true or not. And that will, again, provide you with the right direction to go in with your next tests. Everything has to be hypothesis-based. I have this very, very good creative testing sheet template that I utilize. So, we go through, this is how we log basically a lot of our creative tests. So we look at, the avatars that we're going to be speaking to. We look at what the hypothesis is in that specific instance. We then obviously link the final output, who the writer and the editor was of that ad. Did it go live on Facebook? What's the new customer CPA after 7 days? And then we look at the rest of the metrics, and we log all of this after 7 days of every creative test going live. And then what are the next steps? This is where you now experience that compounding effect. So let's say, for example, hypothesis A is featuring customer testimonials and user-generated content from women sharing their visible results will drive better engagement and conversions than professional ad visuals. We can then test that by creating some UGC mashups, UGC compilations of before and afters, and then sprinkle in benefits and selling points of the product. We can create 3, 7, 10 variations, however many you want, link each one, launch them, log their CPA after 7 days, log all of the rest of their data after 7 days, and then figure out which of the variations worked, if any, and then look at why. And then from there, we might say, okay, cool. Version 2 worked very, very well. Next steps might be to produce 5 new hooks for version 2 and 5 new visual scroll stoppers for version 2. Then we'll log that as a next line in the hypothesis, and we'll be like, okay, cool. Version 2 from test 1. If we put 5 new scroll stoppers on it, that will improve performance or help us to find another winning ad. Okay, that's a testable hypothesis. We'll go through that same process again, and then we conduct that again. And the idea is that every test that you launch should be informed by something previous. The first one obviously won't be, because there's no basis to go on, so that where your research will come in. Another hypothesis could be, for example, featuring clinical studies or scientific ingredients in our creatives will resonate better with a problem-aware audience than lifestyle-focused creatives. So again, very specific, directional, testable statement. We can then act on that and produce variations of ads that contain that, produce X amount of variations, launch them, look at the data, and then plot our next steps. And that might be, for example, okay, that worked. Then we might say, fine, that worked with an AI voiceover and B-roll that we already have. Now let's get a face-to-camera talking head version of it with an actual creator. So instead of being AI voiceover, now we're going to create a voice. And that could be the next test that we launch to try and compound upon the efforts of this one. And for that, we might produce another 5 hook variations. And then that would go live and get logged in here as well. The more you can stick to this, which is tedious and difficult to do, I won't lie. Like, we have to do this across, more than 15 brands at the agency. And, it can be very easy for things to slip through the cracks if you're not paying attention to the details. But it just helps you so much to continuously be improving and knowing what you're going to create next, because pretty much all of it is based off of previous data or previous insights that you can then use to create net new concepts, iterations, etc., etc. So, like I said, every creative test we launch should be rooted in a specific hypothesis so that we can utilize the data effectively and compound our efforts over time. Utilizing a testing sheet like this or this specific one would be very, very helpful in order to keep track of those. Next up, concept selection. This is crucial, and when I hear people talking about, they launched X amount of creatives and they didn't work, or there's so many variables when it comes to launching creatives successfully to be able to obviously hit your CPA targets, that there's no amount of testing is enough testing when you actually think about it, because any script could be fit basically into any of these formats. And when it comes to actually selecting the concept, what we really want to do is we want to define the ad concept that we'll be creating. So some examples could be like TikTok shop style UGC, where it's just like single creator, very raw, authentic. Maybe they have the product in their hand. There's no B-roll, there's no elaborate editing, there's no fancy captions or music or anything like that. It's just creator talking to the camera in a very engaging and high energy way. And next one could be an AI mid-journey ad. So it's like AI mid-journey videos combined with an 11 Labs voiceover, engaging visuals, a good script. Next, you might want to try a listicle script, 3 reasons why, 5 reasons why, 7 reasons why. That could be one avenue of going down the listicle script, and then another avenue of going down the listicle script could be appealing to an audience that is a little bit higher up in the awareness stages, so maybe a more unaware market, where you're going for 3 red flags or 3 warning signs or 3 signs or 5 signs or whatever it is, where you would then list out the specific symptoms. So you might say 3 warning signs of candida overgrowth in your gut, for example. That way you're able to tap into an audience who doesn't even know about this thing, but 3 warning signs would potentially capture their attention. Then you have single creator and B-roll. So this would be like your standard UGC, which is just B-roll, lifestyle B-roll, product B-roll, combined with a talking head. You cut between each one. Then you have AI voiceover plus B-roll mashup with multiple creators. Social proof stack creatives, where you just have like loads of talking head scenes of creators talking about, demonstrating the product with a good soundtrack behind it, captions on screen, and those like all stacked on top of each other. And then you might go to a nice branded end card at the end of the video. A negative hook ad, so why this product is the worst purchase I've made this year, is actually that's actually a hook that we've seen success with for one of our clients in the past. Podcast style ads, so that's single or multiple creator podcast style, where multiple might be, you have a studio that you rent out. Single creator could be like, you've probably seen these where it's just one person, and that could be more from like a perspective of authority, where they are specifically talking about something that they seem to be an expert on, and they're delivering the script that way. Two completely different dynamics, but resonate with customers in completely different ways. Then you have VSL creatives. Those can range from 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, all the way up to 30, 40 minutes running in feed. Street interview creatives, scraped footage creatives, single creator talking head plus B-roll. I put that twice. POV script with no talking head, so that might just be POV of the product, or POV of the, whatever it might be, with creator talking, but you can't actually see the creator. This is a format that's worked very, very well for us. So now you can see, you can basically design almost the same script or same ad concept to fit into essentially every single one of these. And then when I see people say to me, oh, UGC doesn't work, it's like, yeah, you tested single creator and B-roll. You didn't test all of this other stuff. And obviously there's a certain limit to what you can test before you cut your losses and move on, whether it's you're testing different products for your store, or whether it's you're trying to crack a new SKU for your brand, or try and crack a new angle for your brand. I completely understand that, but you have to consider the amount of variables that you're playing with when it comes to actually trying to produce a winner. And so considering this, and then obviously we have this other resource which is available to the people inside my course group, which is basically 23 different ad formats with examples for each one, to inspire you to then create different types of POV, different types of angle, different types of script for your specific product. Like I said before, the same script edited or produced in 2 different formats can produce totally different results, and selecting your concepts based on probability of success, specifically based on what is working in the market at that moment in time, is crucial. Leverage the creative concept playbook, which I just mentioned, in order to select concepts. Understand what is working across your vertical and use that to inform your concept selection. So, if all your competitors or people that are close competitors are running AI mid-journey ads and seeing a lot of success with those, then first point of call might be trying to crack those, maybe with a different angle, maybe with a different avatar, since that seems to be working for that niche. Don't be afraid to take big swings when it comes to selecting different concepts and formats for your ads. This is huge. Like, a lot of people get siloed into one style of ad, which I understand when it works and it scales is perfect, because you can then iterate like at scale. But there's a lot of other formats available to you that speak to customers in different ways, that allow you to leverage different points of view, different types of creators, different types of messaging, which again could be massive unlocks when it comes to scaling spend. Next up, we're going to talk about scripting. So pillar 4, all about how you actually create your scripts. Now, this is one of the most important pieces. The right research, the right concept can be easily let down by a poorly written script. And while this video itself will not make you an expert copywriter, I'll just leave you with this daily practice that will help you improve your copywriting drastically. All you need to do is find 5 winning ads every single morning using Spy Tools, Foreplay, Atria, whatever you want. Write the transcripts of those scripts out by hand and annotate them based on the building blocks of the script. And then you want to bank them as potential script structures you can utilize in future. So the closer you go to whatever it is that you're selling in terms of niche product vertical in finding these winning ads, the more relevant the structures will be that you can basically utilize for your own ads with your own messaging, your own angles, your own hooks, whatever else might be. If you do this every day for 60 days, I guarantee you your copywriting ability will be transformed. And the key to annotating and understanding these scripts is to break down the structure of those scripts into building blocks. Building blocks meaning, the hook, the problem, the solution, the storyline, the social proof, the risk reversal, the urgency, the CTA. And then asking yourself, what type of hook did it use? Was it a pattern interrupt? Was it a question? Was it a factoid? All these kind of things, and these different types of hook will determine, will have a very big impact on why that ad specifically converted. Maybe the hook was appealing to authority, etc., etc. Where in the script is the problem introduced? So when you're looking at the structure of the script, you want to understand how they've positioned the hook, the lead, etc., etc. Does it go straight into the problem? Does it tell you a story before it goes into the problem? All these kind of things you want to understand, so that you're then able to have a comprehensive understanding of the structure of that script. The storyline, what is the overarching story or narrative within that script? Is it written from the first person? Is it written from the third person? Is it an expert's POV? These kind of things matter, again, to understanding why a script was successful. Social proof, how does it utilize social proof? So where in the script is social proof mentioned? Does it talk about the number of customers they have, the number of reviews they have, all these kind of things? Risk reversals, does the script utilize a risk reversal? So, do they have a money back guarantee? Do they have a risk-free guarantee? Something like that to de-risk the purchase. If so, where does it appear in the script? Urgency, how does the script compel people to take action now? Is it a deal that's only available today? They talk about how the product has sold out multiple times. All these kind of things. You want to understand what kind of messaging and what kind of wording is used in these specific sections, so that you can then utilize it yourself moving forward. And then what kind of CTA is used? Is it a click the link below to learn more? Is it click the link below to take our quiz? Is it I've just left the link below so that you can get one of your own? Is it a softer CTA, harder CTA, etc., etc.? When reverse engineering winning scripts, it's important to look at the structure, because once you understand the structure, you can take it and apply it relatively easily to your own product or offer. I cannot stress how important this is, because it just allows you to control one variable, which is now you have a winning structure. All you have to do is swap out different messaging, swap out different angles, different creators, when you know the structure itself is proven with that specific audience or market. Utilize AI and ChatGPT or Claude in order to reverse engineer your own winning ads as well, so that you can spot the commonalities between them and double down in areas where you can already see success. I have a YouTube video on the channel about how I used AI to basically build a creative strategy, reverse engineer winning ads and script structures. So if you haven't seen that, I strongly suggest you watch that. I'll leave a link in the description below. And the reason why I just want to quickly mention is I mentioned writing the scripts out by hand, is because I don't know what it is. I don't know what the science behind it is, or if there is any, but when you write something out by hand, compared to typing it on a Google Doc or even using AI to do it, your level of understanding, because you're literally understanding, processing the words as they appear on the page, just seems a lot higher, and you get the grasp of things a lot better and a lot faster. So now we have the scripting done, we have the concept selected, we have our hypothesis made, and all of it is informed by data. The pillar 5 really is the creators. So where can you find creators for your brand? Again, there's another video on the channel about specifically how to find creators, and the different platforms that we use and the different funnels that we use to bring in creators on autopilot for the clients that we work with, to where we have a network now of more than 3,000 different creators across 5 different markets. So where can you find creators? Fiverr is very good, Backstage is very good, Upwork, Twitter, Incense and Join Brands. I haven't used myself personally too much, but I've heard very good things from people who have spent money on there and generated some pretty good ads. Also, I think if you're on a lower budget, maybe Incense, you could do more gifting based UGC, less scripted, that kind of thing. And any of these platforms should give you enough of a basis to start from, with 20, 30, 50 different creators, because it's not that hard to find creators nowadays. Understanding creator selection. So this is very, very important to understand the right creator for the specific script that you're going to be delivering. So when we're understanding creators, we're looking at 3 different types of creator when selecting scripts when selecting creators for scripts. These are highly niche and script dependent. So it will make sense to you in a second why I said that. The first one is somebody who is relatable. This is someone who is your target audience in their current state. And maybe they have been through the transformation throughout the duration of the video, or they're pre the transformation, but they're your customer. They meet your customer where they are, as opposed to where they want to be, for example. So this is really important. For example, if you're talking about scripts where, there's health stuff, if there's blood pressure, blood sugar, all these kind of things, all these kind of niches, debt relief, whatever it might be, Casting a relatable creator is very, very important for those kind of niches and others. There's a lot more that I could mention, because you'll speak to the audience where they are right now, and that will resonate with them in a completely different way than, for example, creator number 2, which might be somebody who is credible. This is somebody who your target audience look to for expert insights. For example, in health, this would be medical professionals like chiropractors and dermatologists. In the pet niche, it could be vets, dog trainers, cat trainers, groomers, whatever else it might be. Leveraging their authority is an excellent way to get through to your audience and get them to bring their guard down and be receptive to your message. And then the last type of creator we look at is the aspirational creator. This is someone who has already achieved what your prospects want to achieve. They look up to this person. So a good example for this would be like the make money online niche, the BizOp niche. This would be the guru themselves, for example, where they are portraying maybe the physique, the money, the lifestyle, the relationship, etc., that their audience wants. And so they are the best spokesperson for those scripts, or other people speaking about them and building them up as the best person to learn from in that specific thing. That specific niche or vertical would be a very, very effective strategy as well. So your creator selection choice will really be all about who you're speaking to and how you want to speak to them based on the script and the concept you've selected. And I would strongly recommend testing these against each other, because again, your target audience will be receptive to information from different people in different ways. Even if it's, running split tests based on skin color, for example, a black creator versus a white creator, an older creator versus a younger creator. We've seen drastic swings in performance when controlling for these variables that perhaps you wouldn't have otherwise. And it also allows us to then stack winning ads on top of each other, and unlock or try and beat our control variants with new variations of ads. So that's the creator portion sorted now. With this simple selection process, you should be able to understand exactly who to put in your ads and where to find them. And then the last kind of most important part of this whole presentation, video, whatever you want to call it, is the feedback loop. Making sure that you respect the feedback loop and your entire team respects the feedback loop is crucial to compounding your efforts over time. It's the same as if you're going into the gym, for example. If every time you go into the gym, you lift a completely random set of weights and do completely different movements, you're probably not going to get the kind of progress that you want to, where if you had, for example, every time you train chest, you did a barbell press, and every time you did a barbell press, you logged the amount of weight and reps that you were able to get, and then you're able to know how you felt about that. Did 12 reps feel too easy, too hard? Then you can adjust your load and adjust the intensity of your workouts accordingly. It's exactly the same with creatives and pretty much anything in life. Like, feedback loops are abundant in every area of life. But when it comes to creatives, really you want alignment between your creative strategists and media buyers, as well as your talent managers, to keep this feedback loop tight. You want to be unemotional about it. It's very easy for people to be protective of their ideas, or overanalyze or overcritique other people's ideas. If you just act on the data, and crucially act on the data, not just read the data and think, okay, cool, and then just do something completely different, which again, a lot of people do. If you don't act on the data, you won't experience that compounding effect over time. So again, this is why the creative testing sheet, for example, is very, very important, because this is where money is made. Money is not made here. Money is made here, because once you have data to substantiate your hypotheses, you can then create next steps in a logical way that actually is coherent and makes sense, as opposed to, again, like if you imagine what kind of person would you be if you, for example, just ran this test up here and then your next steps were completely unrelated to that, or you decided to go in a completely different direction as opposed to digging further around that rabbit hole and trying to find the variant of the ad or the line within the messaging or the phrasing that would lead to even better performance. I think a lot of people don't give iterations the credit that they deserve, because once you have a winner, the hardest thing to do is to find a winning ad. And once you have a winning ad, the easiest thing to do is to iterate on it. It's literally the lowest effort and highest yield activity that will drive further performance and further growth and allow you to spend more money. So this kind of a process where you have a feedback loop functioning between creative strategist, media buyer, talent manager, works really, really well in order to be able to optimize your efforts over time. Continuously be creating new hypotheses and continuously be making new progress. You might also have wildcard hypotheses. You know, if you see a format on Twitter, or if you see somebody you know in a mastermind talking about a specific ad style that worked really well for them, sure, test it, log it in here, see if it worked. I'm not saying don't do any of those things, but crucially, you want data to back up everything, because if you ran that test and it didn't work, okay, you want to figure out why it didn't work. Maybe the quality of the edit wasn't good. Maybe something else was off about why it didn't resonate with the audience. The data will tell the story. So understanding that and making sure that you're on the ball with the data and the feedback loop is very, very important in order for the whole thing to work, because you won't be able to then find new data points to actually test off of, because you didn't understand what the data told you about your previous tests. And then you just end up spiraling and testing loads of stuff, wasting a bunch of money, hiring agencies that, again, you don't even know how to brief them because you don't even know what works. And then you'll blame the agency for the lack of growth or the lack of success. And it's just a cycle that repeats itself. So yeah, that pretty much sums up everything in terms of how to create Facebook ads in 2025 that actually convert. Data is king. Utilize it to your advantage. There's an abundance of it available for free that will make your life so much easier. And the worst thing to do is assume in today's day and age when it comes to making ads, because the data is free. The data is out there. You just have to look for it. And I guarantee you the brands that are scaling the most are spending majority of their time doing research, majority of their time understanding their avatar, and majority of their time finding things that other brands are not looking at when it comes to marketing to the same people, which creates an unfair advantage for them. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please do like, subscribe, share it with someone that you know who either runs a brand or an agency that would find this valuable. Let me know if you want to see more videos in this format. I was going to do like the Miro board style, but it's pretty much rinsed. This Google Doc style, I think the only other person I've seen do it is Carl Weischer, and I quite liked it. So yeah, I ripped it. Cheers for that. But yeah, subscribe if you haven't already to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.